But joining us now is the senator from Louisiana. It is Senator John Kennedy. Good morning, Senator.
Morning, Will. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I seem to be better than what's going on in the elected bodies of the United States of America, at least on the left, Senator. Man, there's really
Will, how do
Sure.
they know how do they know all black people hate you? Have they talked to all the black people
Well, you see,
in America? I mean, what
you
is
see,
that?
you see,
These people need to put down the crack pipe, man.
you see, Senator, they did a focus group. And I made the mistake of telling Sage Steele on the Sage Steele show about one of my experiences of being called into a meeting at ESPN. And, the truth is, it wasn't innocuous at the time. It really did upset me. But it's long water under the bridge. But it's material for viral content in 2025. But, I agree with you. I've met a few. Herman's black. He's here in the offices. I don't know if he hates me. I'm going to do a single person focus group here in a moment and find out if it's 100% disapproval rating for Will Cain.
Sounds like a good idea. I don't think people hate you, Will.
Senator, what? Well, thank you, Senator. What's going on? Do you sense this civil war, if not brewing, already having been launched on the left, in the Senate, in Congress, in the commentariat? There's something about this government reopening that has completely divided the left.
Well, Senator Schumer gambled, and he lost. And he's kind of walking around now looking like a guy who just lost his luggage. He did this to try to make the Bolshevik wing, which is in control of his party, like him, love him. And now they're madder than ever at him. The socialist wing of the party is controlled by Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez. She's probably feeling pretty toasty today on politics. She probably doesn't realize how much she hurt the American people. But I think she will either, if the Democrats gain control of the House, she'll either try to dethrone the minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, and become Speaker. She'll run against Schumer, or she'll run for president. And then it'll be a gut check time for the folks in the Democratic Party. There are a lot of Democrats, one of whom I think is Senator Schumer, who understand that the loon wing of his party are a bunch of loons. But I think he's scared of them. I think his testicles are on back order from China. And I think until they come in and people stand up and say, we're tired of this foolishness, then they'll continue to have a internecine warfare.
Do you think, let's talk about the nature of power. Do you think that AOC has the power that she believes, that the press believes, that people believe about AOC? Now, the source of power can be multitude, but the real ultimate source of power is the people. It's the voice of the people. Senator Schumer lives and runs from the state of New York. And I have no doubt that the viewpoints of AOC are much more representative in Queens than they are, say, in Baton Rouge. But she is now, as you just pointed out, looking for much higher office and wielding much more power than simply the voice of people from Long Island City. She is now talking about representing the people of the United States of America. And she has evidence that it's not limited, right, to Queens. We're seeing it in Seattle. We're seeing it in greater New York City. The question, though, is not only do the American people, are they ready for this? Are they ready for the power to reside with the socialists? But whether or not the Democrat Party truly is. Like, if she is representative of the left, we know she's representative of, again, a small, I shouldn't say small, a loud, radical wing within the left. Is it now about to become the left?
Well, I think the Congress, and let me say, I certainly don't hate the Congresswoman. I don't hate anybody, but I've always believed that the Congresswoman is a creation of the media. They just love her. They love her like the devil loves sin, man. I mean, they just and I get why she's attractive. She's pretty articulate on television. She's bold in her statements, but I've never heard anybody describe her as a policy maven. My experience with her is if you scratch the surface, you just get more surface. Um, but it's clear that she has a following, and I don't think the loon wing of the party is the majority of the Democratic Party. Maybe I'm naive, but it's clear that the loon wing of the party is the loudest. It's clear that she leads them. It's clear that they are in the ascendancy, and it's clear that until the more rational Democrats stand up to her and them, the chaos will continue.
Now, Senator, I believe you're prepared to introduce a bill, and you've talked about it already. But having just lived through all of us a government shutdown, you see a real disconnect. And you and I have talked about it. And I know that you want to keep this fight going. You see a real disconnect between the incentives of people that deprive air traffic controllers or the military of their paycheck and the ones voting on it continue to get their paycheck. And you would like, in these instances, to see Congress also be deprived of their paycheck.
Yes. Look, if you want to stop shutdowns and prevent future ones, here's what you need to do. Number one, you need to provide that members of Congress can't be paid during a shutdown. Number two, you have to provide that members of Congress cannot have to stay within 100 miles of Washington, D.C. during a shutdown. They can't go home. If you do that, the shutdowns, if you have any, will be very short. Now, I can't pass the second provision, but I think I can pass the provision saying that none of us can be paid during a shutdown. I didn't take my salary during the shutdown. I'm not putting down anybody who did. That's not the point. The point is to stop these things in the future. And I begged the Senate Republican leadership to let me offer an amendment to the shutdown, open up the government bill, and they wouldn't do it, providing that senators can't be paid during the shutdown, and they wouldn't let me bring it up. But I'm going to continue, and I think I'm going to have a vote in a couple of weeks. I just think there ought to be one rule for everybody, Will, and I think there ought to be shared sacrifice. And it was embarrassing for me to have to walk by folks in the military and the Capitol Police, and I didn't see any air traffic controllers, but if I had, it would have been embarrassing to walk by them when I'm getting paid, and they're not. It's just not right.
It makes eminent sense, Senator. Do you think it would carry with it that big power of incentive? Do you think it would limit government shutdowns? So whoever's voting for a continued government shutdown would be severely, and I don't know who we could use as a proxy or as an example or as an illustration, but whoever that might be, we could call it Senator Schumer. Not getting that paycheck would really introduce pain and change incentive for Senator Schumer?
I do think it would help. And if you really wanted to stop future shutdowns, as I said, you would stop members of Congress being paid, but you would also say, you have to stay in Washington. You can't go home, man. You got to stay here. That would be a real incentive. But I can't pass that. I mean, I just know I can't. I can't get that past the Senate. I know I couldn't get it past the House. But if we did, it would stop a lot of these shutdowns.
Let me ask you two more inside baseball politics issues,
Okay.
which is what you should do with a senator. It's like asking a baseball player about what he thinks of various pitches. Do you like hitting the curveball? Do you like hitting the slider? I should ask you policy things. You are a United States Senator. The Senate Majority Leader John Thune put into the CR, he put in the ability for senators to sue and get $500,000 on the spying, the January 6th spying, which is scandalous. It's absurdly scandalous that the Biden administration, the DOJ, was tapping the phones of United States senators and a lot of senators, a lot of elected officials. But Thune and it got attached to the CR that it would allow those senators to sue for $500,000. Mike Johnson, the House Speaker, did not like it, took it out, or plans to repeal it in the coming weeks.
Mhm.
Explain the divide to me here. Why was it important for Thune, and where do you stand on this? Are you with the speaker?
Well, number one, to the central issue, I do believe that the senators and Congress people whose records were turned over to Jack Smith have a cause of action against him, against the Department of Justice, and against the FBI, and especially against telephone companies that turned over those records. And I believe that their causes of action are worth more than $500,000. Now, putting that aside, I don't know how this provision got in this bill. I'm not saying Senator Thune put it in. I just don't know. I mean, none of us knew about it. The only person I know that knows is probably, and I haven't talked to him, is Senator Mark Wayne Mullin from Oklahoma. He is the chairman of the subcommittee on the legislative branch, and this provision was put into his bill. So, I mean, it was his bill. He had to know it was there. But whether he did it on his own, I'm not saying he did. Whether somebody told him to do it, I have no idea. But I have a feeling we're going to find out pretty soon. I'm not laying it as a doorstep, and I'm not blaming Senator Thune. I'm just telling you that I didn't know about it, and I bet almost every other Republican didn't.
But it sounds like then you're with the speaker. This shouldn't be part of the CR. This shouldn't be something that we do.
I don't like any of these last-minute drop-in provisions. If they should have offered this as an amendment. When I want to add something to a bill, particularly in the waning days before the vote, I ask for amendments. Whoever was behind this should have asked for amendment. You should have done it in front of God and country and the American people. Where they get in trouble is when they go get permission and do a backdoor deal, in my opinion, anyway. But I've seen this happen a whole bunch. That doesn't excuse it, but nobody told us it was there.
All right, and I think you and I have discussed this, Senator. The president's still on it. He still wants to do away with the filibuster. And just to recap for the audience where we are on this, the filibuster requires that 60 senators vote for anything outside of the reconciliation package, which gets a simple majority. Democrats have been on it for a long time. They want to get rid of the filibuster. We should point out it is not constitutional, meaning that's not to say it's unconstitutional. It's not enshrined in the Constitution, the filibuster. But over time, over roughly 100 years, it has evolved into a check on majority power. And we like checks on majority power in America. That's the spirit of the entire Constitution, is to protect minority viewpoints. That's the separation of powers. That's everything. That's what the whole concept is of the constitutional republic. But again, that's not one necessarily envisioned by the founders, the filibuster. But here we are. We've had it for 100 years, and the Democrats don't like anything that checks majority power. Nothing. They would like majority power. They'd like complete power, and the quickest way to complete power is majority power. So Democrats have always wanted it. Now the president wants it, to get rid of the filibuster. Now, the line from Republicans for a long time is no way. That's a check, again, on majority power. And what will the Democrats do if they ever get it? You know, they'll pack the Supreme Court. They'll do X, Y, Z, everything on their wish list. Add Puerto Rico, add D.C. as states. That doesn't seem to deter the president. And his rationale, Senator, is they're going to do it anyway, guys. The minute that they have power, they'll do away with the filibuster, so we might as well do away with it now and get the agenda through. So where are you on doing away with the filibuster?
Well, you're right about the president. I mean, he called me last week before last. He's dug in like a tick. He wants us to get rid of the filibuster, and he wore me out over it. I kind of like the filibuster. I didn't when I first came to the Senate, but a senator's job, I have learned, is not just to advance good ideas. It's to kill bad ideas. And I think back under President Biden of all of the bad ideas that would now be law had we not had the filibuster. Now, someday there will be a Democratic president again. And maybe the president's right that the first chance they get, I think he probably is right, the first chance they get, they'll get rid of the filibuster. I don't think that's automatic, because I think there's some Democrats, they're not saying a word, who like the filibuster. But maybe the president's right. But what I told him, the president, I said, look, the way to address that question is just don't let the Democrats take back control. Let's hold the Senate. I mean, and let's all pit, and that's what I've been using my spare time on, to try to go to the battleground states. I
bet
now
he
I
didn't
can
like
tell
that
you.
argument. What did he?
No,
What did
he
he
didn't
say,
like it.
Senator? I
He
bet he didn't like
it.
that argument.
He didn't like it worth a damn. You know the president. He is what he is. You know, is he a perfect man? No. Does he try to get better every day? Also, no. The president is the president, man. His personality is formed. I love him. But the votes aren't there. I can just tell you. I can think of 10, maybe 15. You'd have to have a majority vote among Republicans, and I can think of 10 or 15 people that wouldn't vote for it. What I would like to do instead is do another reconciliation bill. We passed the one big beautiful bill without a single Democratic vote under reconciliation. We can do 2 more reconciliation bills to address the cost of living in America. And I have been begging Senator Thune, please, let's get started. Let's get started. I haven't convinced him yet, but I'm going to chase him like he tried to steal Thanksgiving till I can convince him that we shouldn't. If we don't do 2 more reconciliation bills, we will look back and think, what in God's name are we thinking?
Why does Senator Thune need convincing? It sounds like, of course, we should pursue another reconciliation bill.
I don't know. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying he listens to me politely and then ignores me. But I don't give up easily. And a lot of people have started to agree with me. And we have to address the cost of living in America, the cost of housing, cost of health care, cost of going to the grocery store. You shouldn't have to sell blood plasma in order to go to the grocery store. We can do that through a reconciliation bill without a single solitary Democratic votes. They'll be welcome to work with us, but I know what they're going to say. They're going to say no. We don't need their votes. So we did that with one big beautiful bill. Why aren't we doing it again? Instead, for 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks, we've just sat on our ice cold, lazy butts and done nothing.
Well, let's talk about affordability. Let's talk about housing to start. I'm going to be exploring that a little more, Senator, today at 4 o'clock on the Fox News channel on the Will Cain Show.
Good.
I've committed to talking about affordability this week and all of its various elements. We've done health care, and that, you could do that till you're blue in the face because that's a tough one. We've talked about education yesterday, and today we want to talk about housing. But, you know, when you look at this, people say there's a supply problem. You know, I talked to my staff about this yesterday because, like, Senator, you live in Louisiana. You probably a little closer akin to what I experience in Texas. It doesn't feel like a supply problem in Texas, but I don't live on the East Coast where it's much more congested and there's not as much land to build into and that kind of thing. You know, interest rates are high right now, much higher than they were for a generation. And that generation that got 2% interest rates, honestly, they're the aberration. This is the more the norm. Like, you look at history, 5, 6, 7, 10, that's kind of how it was. So when you look at it right now, and you look at housing in particular, what can you do about affordability?
Well, I do a couple of things. Number one, there is a supply problem, and here's what has caused us. Local government has control of zoning and housing permits. And local government, mayors, council people, they react like all politicians to what their people say. And people don't want local government to allow more houses to be built because they think it will affect the value of their home. Many people who have $1 million in equity in a home, they don't want to see necessarily more housing because the value of their home could drop. So what I would do, in fact, I've introduced a bill, is look to say, look, I don't care how you do it, but you have to increase, local government, your housing starts by 5% a year. You don't have to do it. You don't have to listen to me. But if you don't, you're not going to get your direct federal government grants that we give them through HUD. And if you do it, we'll give you some extra money. So I'd give them a carrot and a stick. That would solve that problem, in my opinion. The other thing I think we need to do, as you know, Will, when you sell your home, a certain amount of your gain is not taxed, but it's $250,000 for a single person, 500,000 for an individual, but for a couple. But a lot of those figures were set back in the 1990s. With housing prices increasing so much, having $250,000 exempt from taxes is nothing. We need to raise that figure. And that way people would be more likely to sell their home and buy a new one. That would increase supply as well. The demand is there. The problem is the supply. Those are two things I do right quick.
Yeah, that's interesting about local governments, and I feel like I've experienced that on both sides. My small hometown where I grew up, Senator, is on the verge of boom. It's going to be a tech center in Texas, and I can tell you, I know there's a lot of concern about the kind of homes that are going to be built, and then as an extension of that, the kind of people that are going to move into those homes, and then what do those homes look like in 5 to 10 years, and who buys them who buys the second time? Because you're talking about the transformation of a town. You're talking about the transformation of a culture, of a community. But I get what you're saying as well. You can't hang on to yesterday, otherwise nobody can afford a home. So it is. And by the way, in Texas, we've done what you've talked about. Like local zoning is there's way less control than there used to be. Anybody can get out of an ETJ, extraterritorial jurisdiction. Anybody can do it. A home builder can come in and throw up 500 homes, and there's not much a city can do to stop it. Is that good? I guess it's good for the supply of homes. Is it good for the community? I don't know, Senator.
Well, you can still have building standards while allowing more building. I'm not saying that you should allow people to throw up cheap homes that aren't well built. You can still have standards, but you can allow more building. And I don't know any other way to increase supply other than that. Now, right. Some of my colleagues, mostly Democrats, have argued, well, the federal government needs to get into the home construction business. God save us all. No, it's got to be driven. It's got to be driven by the private sector. And when it takes you 2 years to get a permit, and then you get sued 20 times, before you're allowed to build a subdivision, and you're paying interest on the money the whole time, that's not conducive to more homes.
So there's a lot of people that argue as well, immigration is tied to supply or increased demand when it comes to housing. I want to talk to you about immigration. I think we've talked, all of us, everyone has talked at length about illegal immigration. And we have talked about, I think, although probably not enough, deportations. Deportations not limited simply to those, to listen to Secretary Noem, who are quote unquote criminals and terrorists, but, deportation of illegal immigrants who are not supposed to be in America, even if they're good people doing good jobs. That has an impact on the wages of Native Americans, and it has impact on a whole host of things, including housing. Yesterday, based upon the president's interview with Laura Ingraham on Fox, I talked about H-1B visas, and we've talked a lot about this, and it's a real divide among people who have otherwise a ton of agreement. And that divide is, do we need to be bringing in the best and the brightest to do jobs that quote unquote Americans cannot do or are not skilled enough to do? I have real trouble with that idea, Senator, to be blunt and upfront with you about it. And, I had this debate with Senator Mullen recently. And I heard Treasury Secretary Bessent, we're talking about a 2-3 year window where Americans are getting up to speed on jobs that apparently somehow we forgot how to do. I don't know how we forgot to do it. We put men on moon on a 9-year time frame, but we've forgotten how to build a submarine or whatever it is to run cable, to run the internet. I don't know where we forgot how to do everything good, but apparently we have to import, hundreds of thousands of people from India and some from China to do what we can't do anymore. That's the argument I'm told on H-1B visas, Senator.
couple points. H-1B visas have been abused. I mean, they have, and the tech companies abused them. Number two, as fast as artificial intelligence is moving, for example, and the need for computer engineers, we're not putting out enough of them. India is. I have no problem
What?
with why. Look at our
Why?
universities.
Yeah, why?
Look at our
But
universities.
on the other
I mean,
hand,
they're a
on the
mess.
other hand, I'm told that our universities need to bring in 600,000 Chinese students, and our universities are top in the world, and they all come here to get educated. So I'm trying to figure out where they're whipping our ass. Is it in K through 12? Is it in university? I'll buy the K through 12 thing, but I'm just trying. I'm having trouble figuring out the why.
Well, the reason that universities brought in so many international students was the money. I can tell you, just follow the Benjamins. It was the money because these foreign students pay full freight, and a lot of them were in graduate school. Um, but that's a separate issue. The other issue is when you have a shortage in a booming area like AI, artificial intelligence, and you need more computer engineers, rather than spend the 2 or 3 years to train, I have no problem using an H-1B visa to bring in folks from India. China gives me pause, man. We had a program under President Trump during the first term to pay careful attention to the Chinese students and professors who were in our universities for security reasons. President Biden got rid of the program, but I've always worried about that.
Do you think, Senator? You said at the outset you think H-1B has been abused, and there's a lot of ways that you can quantify abuse. One of them is, I mean, I think you'd probably agree with me. You do create a depressing factor on wages with H-1Bs, and I know this anecdotally to be true because the H-1B visa holder is beholden to the employer, thus depressing his ability to negotiate for a wage, bringing the whole thing down for the American as well. And so you've got a foreign worker that has to work for a lower wage in order to keep his green card, and the American worker is now uncompetitive because he's got to, he wants a real wage, not the depressed wage of a green card holder. There's that. But do you think that we are truly limiting it to the best and the brightest? Like, I see these job listings. I see that a bunch of it's for entry level and junior level stuff, and, some of it may not be true, but it's bouncing around social media. There's register clerks at 7-Eleven, and there's people doing jobs that don't seem, at least, and I don't know how to quantify it, Senator, don't seem beyond the capabilities of Americans.
No, there's been abuse. I mean, the big tech companies, they're not in there for doing what they're doing out of the goodness of their hearts. They want to make money, and there has been abuse, and we haven't properly, in my opinion, regulated them and supervised them. And a lot of by the way, the issue of visas. I know you're talking about H-1Bs, which is for the professional class, but there are a lot of visas that we give out to folks from other countries to perform jobs that clearly Americans may be available but don't want to perform. I mean, in my state, for example, peeling crawfish. My people don't want to take a job like that. They don't want to spend, 8 or 10 hours a day sitting there peeling crawfish. I don't care what you pay them. So we bring in foreign workers for doing that. But what you're talking about are professionals. And I wouldn't kill the program, but I would sure watch big tech like a hawk.
Where do people come from to peel crawfish? Where, like, you bring in a foreign worker, like who's jumping on those jobs?
Folks from Latin America. They're legal, and we ask them to come in. Same thing with shrimp. Same thing with certain farming, sugar cane, for example. I mean, many Americans, most Americans, they just don't want these jobs. They don't want them. I understand why, but folks who are here illegally and who are properly vetted from other countries, who are happy to have them, and under the visa program, when it's properly implemented, they come in for 3 months and then they go back home. They go back home, and if they want to stay permanently, they have to apply for legal status like everybody else. I don't want to see America.
Is it successful? Is it?
Go ahead.
Is it successful? The going home part, The going home
Yeah,
part. Can we have
yeah.
faith in that, Senator?
You have to make sure that the businesses do it. But most of my businesses in my state, they follow the law. They're very careful about it. If they get a visa, bring in a worker for 3 or 4 months. They provide housing for the worker at the 3 or 4 month period. They have to go back home. And I've got farmers, for example, that have been bringing in foreign workers for 2 and 3 months at a time for years and years and years and years. And the workers
Yeah.
follow the law and the businesses follow the law, and it works out great.
All right, before we go, Senator, once, okay, twice, eyebrows raised, 3 times, you got my attention. I want to give you these 3 stories packaged together. I don't think unfairly packaged together, Senator. Here's the headline from the New York Post. Ex-top New York aide accused of being secret agent for China in exchange for lavish perks as Fed trial begins. Linda Sun was for sale. This was a top aide to Kathy Hochul, governor, and former governor Andrew Cuomo, who was in league with, the accusations are, the CCP. She got a Ferrari. She got a $3.6 million home on Long Island. She had a condo in Hawaii. Okay, one example. And then I get this from Fox News. Tammy Duckworth, staffer, Democrat Tammy Duckworth, staffer, accused of posing as a lawyer in an attempt to free illegal immigrant from ICE custody. Subhead, Department of Homeland Security demands answers as Edward York's alleged misrepresentation at a St. Louis facility. Wasn't a lawyer, pretended to be a lawyer to go get an illegal immigrant out. All right, eyebrows raised. That's 2, right? Now we got this. From the New York Post, California Governor Gavin Newsom's ex-chief of staff arrested, accused of stealing $225,000. Now I got my attention, Senator. We got 3 big politicians within their staff doing some pretty eyebrow-raising things among the Democrats.
And they're all true. I saw the story about Governor Newsom's former chief of staff yesterday. She's in a whole lot of trouble. I read the indictment. They were just stealing. That's all there was to it. I consider it immoral when a senator's staff person lies in order to help somebody who came into our country by breaking the law. Just don't think 2 wrongs make it right. And in terms of China, I'm not saying that everyone from China who comes to America is a spy. I'm not saying that, but a lot of them are, and a lot of these Chinese students may come here innocently, but their families are back in China. And the way Xi Jinping works and the Communist Party of China, they called up the American student or the student in America studying, and they say, you're going to get us information. And the Chinese student says, I don't want to do that. And they say, well, you know what? Your family's back here in China. It'd be a shame if something happened to them. These people are relentless. Yeah. They're ruthless, and we've got to constantly monitor that sort of thing. You can't trust them. They'll steal the hair off your head. That's just the way. The Communist Party of China is.
Senator, I sure am. As much as I enjoy having you on television, I'm enjoying these conversations much more. They're very, very thoughtful. They're always funny, but they're even more thoughtful. And when given the time, I appreciate that. I don't think we've ever met in person. There's a chance somewhere in a New York studio. We had to both be in the city for some occasion. So I'm left curious. I don't remember. I think you're taller than one might expect. So I'm going to put the over-under. I'm going to actually go 6'2". Over-under, Senator.
I used to be 6'3". Well, actually, I think at one point I might have been 6'4", but I came to Washington and got beat down. So I'm probably closer to 6'2". But yeah, when I played basketball, I was a shooting forward, and I like to shoot.
Oh, like Cooper Flag.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily make a lot of them, but I wasn't bad at ball handling. But I just played high school ball. But
forward.
Yeah.
Antoine Walker, famously of the Boston Celtics, said, I'm a volume shooter. So it doesn't matter how many you make as long as you jack them up, Senator.
I had no problem jacking them up. I would jack. I mean, that wasn't my problem, Will. It was the going in part.
Larry Bird in your own mind. Larry Bird in your
was
own
he
mind.
awesome? When he and Magic Johnson competed, man, that was basketball.
What about football? Before we go, what about football?
Uh-huh.
It's rough in Baton Rouge, and
Yeah, my
governor.
Tigers
I
are,
like the governor. Boy, he's on the warpath. He's not going to let you do
yeah.
any $50-70 million buyouts apparently in Louisiana.
Well, the problem is I don't know how we're going to get a coach. I mean, the market is the market.
I know.
And I know how the governor feels. That's a lot of money. But, just like the old expression, it's not bragging if you can do it. These coaches, that's what the market is. And I'm not going to say anything bad about Coach Kelly. I think he did the best he could. But in Louisiana, when you're paying somebody that kind of money, you're expected to win. My concern, and I gave a speech on the Senate floor about this, was there've been a lot of national headlines, and I wanted people to remember that LSU is a lot more than just football and basketball. It's a great flagship university with a really lot of bright kids. We've got 60,000 kids trying to better their lives and get an education, and I don't want us to lose sight of that. But LSU football is a big deal. It's kind of like University of Texas.
If I remember correctly. You're Vanderbilt, right? Am I remembering correctly? You're Vanderbilt?
Oh, yeah. Anchor
we
down.
Talked before the game.
Doors.
We haven't talked after. Oh, yeah. Just not in Austin.
Nope.
Just not against UT.
Doors are doing great this year. I mean,
again,
just
not against UT.
Just not against UT. Look, that young Manning boy you got there at UT, man, he's going to be a great one. I'm just telling you,
I think so too.
I think he's going to be unbelievable. I watched his brothers struggle when they started out, but they turned out okay. And his granddad did too.
They did. It's coming together for him. It's starting to come together. Always good to hang out. Thank you so much for your time today, Senator.
Thank you, Will. You're the champ, man. Thanks.
All right.